All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Corey. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. As the disclaimer goes, I'm not a financial advisor. Please do not invest in anything you are not willing to lose, and do your own research. Without further ado, let's get into the video for today. So yesterday I didn't put out a video because I started trying to put this video together, and it ended up taking me on a deep dive journey that lasted about 4.5 hours. Then it was lunchtime, and I decided to go out and take a walk with the dog and hang out with the kids and conduct normal life. I'm not working right now for a brief period of time, so I decided to spend some time with the family and not the rest of the day falling into this hole of conspiracy. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look at this chart. Looks like yesterday we did peak a little bit above 20 cents. We are now sitting back down into that 19 cents range. Capitulating a little bit and hopefully moving to the upside soon. I know that we are literally, I think the blockchain backer, if you watch him at all, he did a video about the technical analysis of XRP and realized that we are literally 24 hours away from matching up to the same scale as the prior 2017 bull run. So we are within 24 to 48 hours of that exact time frame, so we will see what happens. Okay, first thing that I want everybody to do is take a look at Coil. Go to coil.com/u/IamLegion and check out I Am Legion's page about all of his information that he's been looking up over the years on Ripple and XRP, and start taking a look at this. I'm going to be conducting episodes where we look into all of his research, but today we're going to be doing something else. First, I want to get through all of this Ripple XRP stuff, and then we're going to go into something that probably it blew my mind. It made my mind melt, I'm telling you. So first thing, next thing is Wrath of Kahneman at WKAHNEMAN. He has said Ripple is specifically described as a reason Visa bought Earthport in this note by the IMTC, International Money Transfer and Payments Conferences, claiming they intend to partner for a swift alternative. This is in May of 2019 that he posted this. This is only a clip, so I went and followed the link. Here is the actual article. Right here, down here is where it says the announcement of Visa of the acquisition for US $320 million of UK-based Earthport to unleash the power of Visa and take it beyond the card and work with Ripple in creating an alternative to SWIFT payments. So we know that Earthport is partnered with Ripple, and now Visa is acquiring Earthport. So I went in to see who wrote this article to give it some a little more headway to make sure we know who it's coming from. This guy, Hugo Cuevas Moher. Yeah, I'm sorry if I messed up your name. This is him right here, a bit of his history. Hugo is the CEO of the Platinum Network, the umbrella company for IMTC, the International Money Transfer and Cross-Border Payment Conferences, as well as the Remittance Innovation Awards. He is an advisor to fintechs and crypto/blockchain-based companies. So the guy is a massively legitimate person inside of the space, understands everything there is to know about the remittance market, and is working directly with the company that's going to be changing the way the remittances move around the world. That was a lot. Moving on, we've got Stuart XRP finding this gem from Bank of America. This is a podcast that Bank of America did, and the image that he put up here is a quote from that podcast. So we're not going to read it because I went and I found that podcast right here, and we can take a listen to it. There it is, right off the bank. There it is, right off the Bank of America website itself. They're partnered with SWIFT and Ripple. This is an article that came out yesterday. All right, yesterday, and they put this on CBS News And this is an article from 2009. So I think they're trying to push an idea, okay? These articles are coming out alongside of a lot of other articles, and they're just trying to push this idea of a new global currency that is digitized, right? So again, this article is from September 9th of 2009, okay? Right during the financial crisis, United Nations proposes a new global currency. So now we've got, this is from yesterday. I pulled this article from yesterday. So yesterday it would have come out 5 hours ago. So now it's 29 hours late. Sorry. Dutch bank envisions post-crisis economy accelerating digital payments. All I'm doing is trying to show you the common talk, what everybody is hinting at here. All right, so this is another article going into Dutch bank working with their digital currencies, okay? And another one right here, Bank of England is open to the possibility private cryptocurrencies may have a role in the future of money. All right, that was April 7th, okay? That article came out. So you can see the ideas, you can see the way that people are working to push this idea. The next thing I've got right here, I'm actually going to close some tabs as I go just so I can keep a trend on where we are. Okay, ISO. It is in its analysis of the consequences of the ISO 222 postponement at DPS Group also refers to the inclusion of disruptive solutions for banks which already rely on disruptive providers such as Ripple in addition to SWIFT. The question should be asked, to what extent the postponement can be taken as an occasion to integrate the different networks in such a way that from the customer's point of view, a uniform functionality and cost. All right, it's just a lot of confusing lingo and I'm having some trouble reading it. They're looking at what SWIFT and Ripple in any kind of combination or coming into the market is going to do to a customer's point of view as far as a uniform way to transfer money. Like, is it going to be easy? Are there going to be different speed bumps for people to go over and see how that integrates and see if that's going to be disruptive to the industry? So ISO 222, we know, has been mentioning Ripple for a couple of years now. So all of this is now flying over into the news. We're seeing a bunch of different news articles. I'm sorry, I'm having some trouble with the microphone right now. I hope that the sound is going to come out okay. Oh, there we go. Turning it up a little. Sorry about that. Okay, moving on. So we got XRP Gonzo had a news blurb that he put out, a little clip that says Catalyst Corporate is working with Aptes Solutions to provide enhanced ACH services to more than 600 credit unions. The go live date is scheduled for early fall. It says nothing in here about Ripple and XRP. So I had to figure out why we were so excited about this. And so I kept moving and I looked up Catalyst Corporate. All right, Catalyst Corporate is working with Aptes Solutions to provide enhanced ACH services to more than 600 credit unions. They go live days early fall. That is where it was taken from, that blurb, okay? So it was taken from Catalyst's actual website. So what is Aptes' solution in terms of Catalyst, and how are we going to integrate them with Ripple? Well, we're going to move on right now and we're going to show you this. This is Aptes Solutions, right? We are a participant in the Faster Payments Task Force. Who else is also a member of the new Faster Payments Task Force? We've got Ripple. Boom. All right, so both Ripple and Aptes are on the board for the Faster Payments Task Force, how to move money around the world more efficiently. And they are connected to now 600 credit unions. So 600 credit unions are possibly being connected to the XRP ledger via this Faster Payments Network board. That is the connection between all of that. All right. Now, if we're going to take a look at Ripple and how everybody's saying, no, XRP is better than Bitcoin, it's faster, it's not, it doesn't rely on mining, it's already pre-mined, you don't need to worry about all that energy. Here's a little blurb about Bitcoin and why we could see it kind of slowly fade away into the future, and that's because of the current financial situation. So Bitfarms layoffs may trigger domino effect in North American crypto farms. Well, why do we have crypto farms? Well, crypto farms are there to mine and hold up the network for Bitcoin. And what miners are doing in order to cover the costs of their own mining equipment is they're mining the Bitcoin, then they're taking the profits and selling it back to, they have to sell that Bitcoin that they mine, they have to take the cash profits, and then they have to sell it to the energy company. So all of the hard work that the miners are taking in, they're taking that money, they're spending it right directly at the energy company. It's just a big full circle loop, okay? Now what happens when you lose your job or you have no other form of income and all of a sudden your equipment can't be paid for anymore because maybe the price of Bitcoin went down a little bit. Now every time you mine a Bitcoin, we know that the halving rewards are coming up, so you're going to have half of the amount of Bitcoin rewarded to you as you mine. So if you don't have any money to pay for that increased use of energy, you're going to have to shut down your mining equipment. Now if you shut down your mining equipment and people shut down all their mining equipment around the world, guess what happens? Well, I wouldn't expect China to shut down all of their stuff, and I wouldn't expect these major people to maybe they're going to shut down a little bit of it, but they're not going to shut down all of it. And what that's going to do is it's going to centralize the computing power of the Bitcoin network only to those who have mass capability of using it. So you're going to have a centralized network inside of China. Bitcoin is not going to be a decentralized cryptocurrency to use. It's going to be a centralized value holder. You're going to be giving all of your money to somebody who has the computing power to change that network at any time. That's kind of scary, all right? Now that can't happen with the XRP ledger because you're running on a set of validator nodes that don't require mining. Those nodes have to then interact with each other in order to create trust scenarios, okay? I can't just throw on a validator and be part of the XRP network. Those other validators have to continually check the work that mine is doing before they, as a network, allow it to happen. Now, Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz can't go, no, Corey's validator, we're going to let that one on because we like Corey. No, the validators themselves have to be able to trust the other validators. It is a complete computational system of trust that doesn't involve humans or the middleman. And that is why XRP is far more superior in terms of security than Bitcoin is. Okay, then we're going to move on. So now we've got most of this Ripple news out of the way. We've seen Bank of America. We've seen where this economic situation could start to take down Bitcoin. And then we start moving into, well, we were watching Mike Maloney. Now, I'm a big fan of Mike Maloney and all of the different avenues that people are finding to talk about what's wrong inside of the government, what's wrong with the economic situation. Now, I don't think any one person could just step out there and go, this is the right way to do it, and then have it work. I think it takes hundreds of intelligent minds to figure out the global movement of money and how it would work the right way for everyone. But what I have heard is plenty of people talking about Miss Yellen right here, and I think that it deserves some credit to bring out into the open. So here is Mike Maloney in the very first about 2 minutes of him talking about his opinion on what's going on, and I thought that it shed some light on the information that I've been hearing from multiple other YouTube channels.
I truly believe that this mostly misguided market manipulation madness by these monetary morons and crazed Keynesian quants will create a calamitous currency crisis. Say that 10 times fast. Yellen says that the Fed doesn't need to buy equities now, but Congress should reconsider allowing it. Now, either she's economically ignorant or she's evil. This is like a binary choice. She either believes that it's okay to create currency at whim, that by the way that it's created, it enslaves us or bids assets away from us and buys up equity in the biggest corporations in America. They're going to be buying American businesses. If it's publicly listed, they're going to be buying it. Now, she says that, or in the article it says, normally the Fed is only allowed to own government debt. I've talked about that before, yesterday's video. Government debt is a treasury. A treasury is the treasury selling off future taxation of our taxes to borrow currency today and spend it today. And so we have to work and pay those taxes, so that enslaves us in the future. And the Fed gets to just counterfeit currency into existence and buy that. And yesterday I showed, they're going to be doing, the program that they're doing is $625 billion every week. And James Bianco of Bianco Research showed that in 1 year, the Fed will own 2/3 of the U.S. Treasury market. Well, the math that I did is if you take the $625 billion per week times 52 weeks, divided by the number of people in the United States, 330 million people, the currency that they're going to print and buy government debt with, you and me, we are going to owe on the average, $100,000, just under $100,000 per person in the United States, and that includes men, women, and children. And so you're talking about a newborn baby owing another $100,000 for 1 year of the Fed doing this. They already are born owing a lot. It's in my book. I can't remember the figure right now. Now, there is, and then agency debt with government backing. Agency debt, this is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And so these are mortgage-backed securities that they're talking about here. And those mortgage-backed securities are backed by mortgages. And the Fed last week owned just under 1.5 trillion. This week it's probably above 1.5 trillion, making the Fed the largest holder of real estate on the planet. If you have a Fannie Mae or a Freddie Mac loan, there's a great likelihood that the Federal Reserve is the lien holder on your home. It's just an insane world that we live in. There is absolute proof that Keynesian economics does not work.
That's pretty wild, isn't it? All right, so basically what's going on is if you're a proponent and, spokesperson for the dollar bill, you believe in paper money that is fake and can be printed at no problem whatsoever from your own government, and they can use that money to implement higher taxes on you because they need it to spend on buying your home. Yeah, that's happening in the background. You may pay your mortgage, but that mortgage is owned by the bank. And if you can't pay the bank, then the bank takes your home. Well, the bank can't afford your home anymore because they're out of money. So guess what the Fed did? The Fed came in and bought all the mortgages all at one time with all of their stimulus packages. Now you owe the Fed all the money for your mortgage. I don't know. Some things like this don't rub right with me. It's just I was 18 years old during the 2008-2009 market crisis. I was going into college. I was just a kid. I was probably supposed to be doing kid things, but my parents were heavily involved in the stock market and they lost like a ton of money, almost all their money, and it rubbed me the wrong way as a child. And now here I am, like 20 years later, doing this show about cryptocurrency, watching the same things happen to us as happened to our parents. And so I don't stand for it, and this is my way of creating a video, montage of the history. So when I'm looking back at this, I can see all the conversations I had publicly about the changing economic times during this situation. It's one of the main reasons that I even do this. So the next thing that I want to do is I came on this yesterday, and I sat here and I watched the whole thing. Every second of it, I went back, I double checked, and then I spent 4 hours trying to either convince or unconvince myself of all of the things that were talked about during this episode. And the end is great. It really goes into, and I'll get to the end of this video at the end of my video, and we're just going to start by listening to, I think it's, we got about 4 minutes of video right here. We're going to stop around 1 minute and 10 seconds, okay?
Just fixing the figures wouldn't justify filling those, because they'd never do it. And if they're building all these massive mortuaries, etc., and the figures start to go down, as they have in China, oh, we're through it, they're going to look total prats. So why are they doing it? Well, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm saying this is something that we should watch for. The more, this is why they're doing it now, rolling out all these 5G towers, etc., everywhere, these satellites, the more that they expand 5G, the more 5G is going to impact upon the population's health. And the more it impacts upon the population's health, the more they can say it's caused by COVID-19. And if they start firing out 5G at 60 gigahertz, they're going to have a lot of people who are going to keel over because they can't absorb oxygen. Now, if they did that, they could start filling mortuaries, and they could say, look, this is the virus, what it's doing, we must have even more lockdown, and it must go on and on and on and on. So we need to watch for that. Given the figures and the numbers we've had so far, if people start going down in large numbers, in anywhere in the world where there's 5G, and end up in these mortuaries, we should start to question big time and put 2 and 2 together. Because that happening on the trajectory of figures so far would be unexplainable, but not if they're taking oxygen out of the atmosphere. And it can be done in a very small area. You can target an old people's home, and you can take the oxygen out with 5G, and people will die. And you'll say COVID-19. And you know what's happening? And there's been, what are now called citizen journalists, people who go out with their cameras and their phone cameras to film this stuff. What they're doing while the schools are closed, what they're doing while people are locked away, is they're putting 5G into schools. You know where else they're putting 5G? Into frickin' hospitals. They're putting 5G everywhere. And so once this is set up, they have the ability to manipulate people psychologically and physically. And where this is all leading, well, part of where it's all leading, is to the vaccine.
Now, before we get to the vaccine, there's hospitals that we've seen that are vacant.
Yeah.
There are these emergency things that are vacant.
All right, so that was the blurb I wanted you to hear. There is a ton more information. I'm serious. There's like a ton of stuff that he goes over. It is definitely worth watching the whole way through with a grain of salt, all right? Don't let yourself get completely scared and run off the ramps here. Do your research like I am going to show you I did. That I wanted to make sure that I knew what I was talking about before I came onto this and started talking about this London Real episode, okay? So after watching that, I decided to start looking up 5G stuff, right? So 5G, we have no reason to believe 5G is safe, okay? There's a lot of information that swings both ways on the health effects that 5G is going to do. This is Brian Rose. He's going to actually take another David Icke official movie or podcast with Alex Jones. Apparently he's going to bring on the show. Not sure how you feel about that guy. I'll probably end up watching that one But just to let you know that they are going to come on together, and that is one that I'm going to watch, and that's one I'm going to talk about afterwards as well. But that's not part of this. So moving on. So 5G and the World Health Organization and the current situation that is happening and all of that, right? The first thing I'm going to do is play this clip, and then I'm going to continue on with a little extra Ripple stuff and XRP. And
week, Dr. Michael Ryan, he's a leader at the World Health Organization, announced that in response to the spread of this virus, authorities may have to enter people's homes and remove family members, presumably by force.
In most parts of the world, due to lockdown, most of the transmission that's actually happening in many countries now is happening in the household, at family level. In some senses, transmission has been taken off the streets and pushed back into family units. Now we need to go and look in families to find those people who may be sick and remove them and isolate them in a safe and dignified manner.
Just so you know, we're coming to your house, seizing your children and, quote, isolating them in a safe and dignified manner, whatever that means. Now, that's not something that under normal circumstances officials casually drop during briefings. It's the kind of statement that might trigger violence. People don't respond well when you threaten to take their kids. But Ryan said it like it was no big deal, and that's how the media treated it. His threat didn't make headlines in any of the major newspapers in this country. That's the kind of moment we're in.
so this guy says, I want to go into people's home, rip their families apart because we put them in there anyway. We put the sick together with families. If you're sick and you're being forced to stay at home and your wife and your kids are at home, then they might get sick. Well, obviously everybody has been quarantined. That is the point. We knew that this was going to happen. We're not going to go around and pull moms and dads away from their kids, pull kids away from their moms and dads because they were sick. There's a 14-day incubation period. You're going to be stuck inside your house with your... Ugh. That's so stupid. And as a parent, I never ever want to hear this kind of stuff ever again. And this is the exact reason why I'm putting all this stuff together, is because I cannot believe that this was even said on public television. So then there's people that are like, read this, don't take it out of context. You got to read the whole thing. Well, you know what I did? I went out and I read the whole thing. I read the whole goddamn transcript, and to see that this guy was doing in context, and there is no context. It's a blatant regard for the fact that he hasn't even figured out that we put ourselves in quarantine to keep people off the streets, to stop the virus from moving from households to households. Like, if it's going to move from family member to family member, then so be it. You live in the same house. But God help you if you take that family away and you stick them into a more populated area that you think is safer. No, absolutely not. And I don't agree with it. So there is some truth to the level of control that is coming from this crisis, and that's starting to rub me the wrong way. Okay, the level of control that I feel living in my own house is starting to become a little bit obscene. Okay, and for that reason we're talking about all this. Now here's browser window number 2, going all the way back to what we talked about yesterday. This is the Ripple buy chip. Okay, we talked about not yesterday, 2 days ago we talked about this. Okay, a implantable chip that connects to the Ripple network. Okay, I'm not going to talk any more about this. We're going to keep moving on. This is Richard Reichel. I'm sorry if I messed up your name. If you do see this, hard pass. Consider that everyone who receives a coronavirus vaccine will be given a digital tattoo or microchip to state they are safe. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Hard pass. Consider that everyone who receives this vaccine will be given a digital tattoo or, quote, digital microchip that they can use that connects to the 5G network, okay? Connects to the 5G network, and also allows people to check whether or not you've been vaccinated, whether or not maybe you have your passport in order, if you, how does this connect in terms of China's Sesame Street system? All right, This is a quantum tattoo, all right? It is like burned onto the skin, okay? And can hold all of your information. So I thought that in connection to this was fascinating as it relates to the quote controls that we are experiencing from our own governments, okay? Then I saw a random, and I know this is deep, but I saw a random Twitter post, okay, about this guy who's like, I'm seriously being zapped by Dew at my place of work, blah, 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 I'm in Maryland. And so I was like, this is so hysterical, I'm going to look this up. And what did I find what Dew stands for? Okay, Dew stands for a direct energy weapon, okay? And lo and behold, there are microwave radiation weapons by HAARP called extra low frequencies, and they have the capability of changing climates, starting fires, inducing droughts, removing molecules from the air. You know, any unbelievably detrimental thing that you can possibly imagine to either the environment or a person's health. They've created a way to synthesize it via a low frequency, extra low frequency weapon. How unreal. So anyway, here are some pictures of this being used. Here is a neighborhood that got wiped out by, this is a California fire, okay? That's a fire. This is in Paradise, California, during a forest fire that didn't burn any of the surrounding trees. It just burned the houses inside of it. You can see this also being used right here. No trees except for that center area. Look at that burn line right there. Right around the backyards of the houses. Okay? Specific cars. I know. What am I looking at? What am I getting into here? So all that I wanted to use this was as a mental reference point to understand that there are legitimate facilities out there that have the technology to do some of the things that we thought were sci-fi, okay? Laser beams shooting from satellites out in space down onto the ground is a sci-fi thing to my brain. I'm like, nah, that's not happening. We talk about that stuff happening, but the government doesn't actually have that stuff. Well, here's a little bit of information that might show that shit actually exists. Huh? And so one of the places now we're going back to 5G, okay? So now we're going back to the potential of what 5G is, okay? What can 5G do that's so different from 4G LTE? All right, my phone works pretty good. It's pretty fast. I can't download a video in less than 1 second, but that doesn't bother me on my day-to-day life. So why is 5G so important, okay? And what areas, and he's talking about what areas of, well, David Icke was talking about what areas of 5G and how it's connected to the virus that we're experiencing, right? So then I went in to further look at what parts of the world are turned on to 5G and how they are related to the current cases that we're having. Now, the grain of salt in this is that populated areas such as cities often have higher cases because there are more people, and they also have higher states of technology because it requires that in order to handle a larger population. So I will say that during this research, it is possible that more people are infected in certain areas that also include 5G because of the nature of that area, okay? But I did work hard to find the questions that I was trying to answer for myself. So this is in Italy. Italy offering 5G to their country. Okay, so this is Vodafone. Vodafone is the Italian carrier launching commercial 5G services in 5 cities across the country. As of June 6th, they were going to be doing Madrid, Barcelona, Seville, Malaga, Bilbao, and Valencia. I did look at Madrid and Barcelona. So here is the Madrid and here's the Barcelona maps of the current crises that we're experiencing in terms of their 5G coverage, as well as their their cases. Okay, so you can clearly see that there are a large amount of cases focused around the areas in which there are 5G, at least in this map. Okay, this is Madrid. Okay, in Madrid, 80% of people are expected to get this disease. All right, in Madrid. Now we also know that Madrid is a turned on area for 5G. Now we're going to keep moving. Here we've got the electro, and then I went on and I was like, okay, so how is this affecting the oxygen in the room? Because he says, David Icke says, it's pulling oxygen out of the room. Okay, now if you have a group of people who are in a retirement home, you turn on 5G, that 5G can grab the oxygen and pull it out of the room. All right, so what 5G can do, what millimeter frequency waves can do, is they can alter the state of oxygen in the air. Okay, it could make this like a different type of non-thermal reactive oxygen species are now involved. They're involved in several various cellular functions, and by using these millimeter wave frequencies, it actually travels through the oxygen in the air to provide a faster mode of transport. And how it affects the oxygen molecule is that the radiation from the phone heats up the oxygen molecule, causing it to behave differently. Now, this is an article from 2001, April 10th, 2001. As of tomorrow, it will be 9 years old. Okay, and this is illustrating the atmospheric absorption for millimeter wave frequencies. At the millimeter wave frequency of 60 gigahertz, which is what he was talking about inside that video, the absorption rate is very high, with 98% of the transmitted energy absorbed by atmospheric oxygen. While oxygen absorption at 60 gigahertz severely limits range, it also eliminates interference between same frequency terminals. So it shows you right here that 98% of the energy absorbed by O2 at 60 gigahertz. It's like a specific frequency in which radio waves can be absorbed by oxygen molecules and passed incredibly quickly with no interference. The benefit of oxygen absorption relative to frequency reuse is detailed in Figure 2. It illustrates the distance relationship between the 60 gigahertz frequency reuse range, the green region, and the traditional range, the blue region. Oxygen absorption makes possible the same frequency reuse within every localized region of airspace. Operation within the 60 gigahertz millimeter wave spectrum enables very dense, interference-free deployment of same frequency radio terminals. Okay, at 60 gigahertz, communication systems must overcome the effects of oxygen absorption. In order to operate reliably at even short ranges, a very focused, narrow beam antenna must also be employed to increase the level of signal available to the target receiver. This combination of oxygen absorption and narrow beam transmission enhances the security of the 60 gigahertz radio link, minimizing the probability of unauthorized intercept. Okay, so they have known about this for an incredibly long amount of time, and I think that's 19 years, and I said 9, but it's actually 19 years. So almost 20 years old this article is, talking about the 5G networks that we are going to be, quote, surrounded by in the near future. So I can't say that they haven't been tested, used, but definitely some light to the situation about how these signals are being implemented. Okay, they have to be using this 60 hertz field. Now, I was a little bit confused on the wording. Okay, so the like oxygen absorption. So is the radio frequency causing the absorption of oxygen out of the air, or is the radio frequency being absorbed by the oxygen in the air? Now, I spent quite a long time trying to figure out what the answer to that was. Like, what is the wording? Because that wording specifically will shed some light on the way that David Icke is using this information, okay? And if you say it's absorbing the oxygen out of the air, then yes, 5G is really dangerous, and it is a weapon that can be targeted. You can actually target people's houses, suck the oxygen out of the air, that person could die, and boom, you blame it on COVID-19. Now, I'm not saying that's happening. That would be far too scary for me to even put on this, and I would probably have people at my house trying to knock down my door. But what I am saying is that I did a lot more to try to figure out how it is all coming and working together. Now, here's two companies, okay? This is two articles. One's from the Verizon website. This is also from PC Magazine. Both are simply just talking about the ranges in which they're going to be using the 5G network. Both of them state that one is going to be using it between 20 and 100 gigahertz, okay? And then this one is saying it's going to be used between 3 kilohertz and 300 gigahertz, okay? So if we look back at this chart, I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here so you can see those ranges. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So here's that 60 right here, and then moving just about to 300. Okay, so that whole range messes with oxygen itself, all right? That whole range specifically. Now, if you're running on 100, looks like 100 somewhere around here, it looks like minimal oxygen use at 100, but in between the 60 and 300 range, that's significant use of oxygen in order to move your signals. Okay, so moving on to extremely high frequencies, okay? The satellite-based remote sensing near 60 gigahertz can determine temperature in the upper atmosphere by measuring radiation emitted from oxygen molecules that is a function of temperature and pressure. Okay, the oxygen absorption and emission in Earth's atmosphere. So this is an article going over how oxygen absorbs energy released by the sun. Okay, so there's oxygen in our atmosphere, and as the sun emits radiation, those oxygen molecules absorb that radiation. Okay, so that answers what's happening from in terms of oxygen absorption. So now we know that when they're talking about oxygen absorption in this article, they're talking about the radio frequencies being absorbed by oxygen, not oxygen being absorbed by the radio. That made me feel a little bit better, okay? We're just trying to deal with how to get that signal through as fast as humanly possible, and sending it over oxygen without oxygen being taken out of the room seems like it's okay. It's okay. We're not there yet. Okay. Then we get what happens to oxygen during atmospheric absorption of radiation with a peak at 60 gigahertz. The oxygen molecule is unusual in having a ground state that has unpaired electrons, and this means it has a net spin of 1. Technically, the ground state is a triplet. This is unusual because ground states normally have spin 0, i.e. they are singlets. For example, the N2 molecule has a singlet ground state. Anyhow, the non-zero spin of the oxygen molecule causes the ground state to split into a couple of closely separated levels. This type of splitting is known as fine structure. The spacing between these levels is blah, 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 which corresponds to a frequency of 59.4 gigahertz. Microwaves with a frequency of 59.4 gigahertz have the right amount of energy to cause transmissions between the fine structure levels. So, at this level, what is happening is it is breaking down the molecule of oxygen into a set of substructures that allow the signal to be passed between molecules. So, now the next question pops into my head. What happens to humans' ability to absorb oxygen molecules if they have been changed to a different structure or substate? So then I kept thinking about that. So heat and pressure releases the stored oxygen. We've got new material seals oxygen from the air. So this is a material that has been invented, okay? This is a material that can absorb large quantities of oxygen in the air, okay? They're trying to think about how they can reduce ventilators and big bulky things that people need to carry around with them. If you've ever seen like a person who's been smoking all their life, they need a ventilator, they have to carry around that tank with them all the time. This is a material that essentially sucks up a bucket full of this material has the capability of sucking up all the oxygen in the world, in a room, okay? So it can be applied to water. It is a technology now that allows oxygen to be sucked out of the air to be used elsewhere. It does break away from the whole flow of what I'm trying to do, but it is another bridge into a material that you thought was sci-fi. Okay, so here's besides those quote do weapons, then you've got another sci-fi material that has the capability of legitimately pulling oxygen molecules out of the air for transport and use of them later, which is, it's cool on a very small scale, but used where we know it's going to be used on a large scale is absolutely terrifying. Now imagine if this was like placed in your reservoir water system on a large scale. Anybody who lives around that reservoir, turned on, would pull the oxygen completely out of the air. You can in fact make entire counties suffer from oxygen deprivation using this material. I apologize for scaring anybody, but I have to find all this stuff in order to make my own mind see the light of what's going on. So one of the things that David Icke talks about in his video with London Real is nanoparticles. Okay, so nanotoxicities. So I looked at what type, where are we as a species on nanotechnology? Like, what do we use it for? Is it something that we're still developing? Is it something that we're using mainstream? Like, how far into this are we that it needs to be looked at in the same breath as this 5G network? So the real question that I was asking was, what can be sent over a 5G signal? Okay, like, first we could just send emails, then we could send movie files and music, and then we can share documents and all kinds of digital stuff. Now is this 5G network being enabled so that we can send different types of information? Like, what if we had a molecular virus that we needed to send to another person in a lab, but that lab was 3,000 miles away? Well, wouldn't it be cool if you could like email a virus? So I think that something along the lines of that could possibly be happening, especially if you think about the fact that you're using these oxygen molecules to send the information. So what can we do in terms of sending stuff? So this is an article about all of the different unique use cases about commercial, industrial, and use cases of nanomaterials and how they can be sent and their effects on the human body and stuff like that. So the unique chemical and biological properties of nanomaterials make them useful in many products for humans, including some in industry, agriculture, business, medicine, clothing, cosmetics, and food. Nanotechnology research and development by industry and governments worldwide has been increasing dramatically. It has been estimated that by 2015, nanoproducts will contribute approximately $1 trillion to the global economy. 2015, okay? This was in 2014, this article was being written, okay? And they expected that it would be a $1 trillion global economy in 2015. It is 5 years later, 2020. Of course this stuff is around. Of course they're using it on a daily basis. Which are among the top nanomaterials? Okay, so titanium dioxide nanoparticles, which are among the top nanomaterials and are widely used as food additives and drug delivery agents in personal care products, paints, plastics, and cosmetics. The potential harm of non-ZNO and non-TiO2 to human health has attracted public attention. Understandably, the matter of safety and toxicity of nanomaterials has become an issue of interest to the public. Therefore, understanding the interactions of nanomaterials with biological systems is a particularly important scientific issue. The mechanisms underlying the toxicity of nanomaterials have recently been studied intensively. An important mechanism of nanotoxicity is the generation of reactive oxygen species, resulting in the subsequent formation of oxidative stress in tissue. If we go back, all the way back to here, we were talking about electromagnetic fields and how they cause reactive oxygen species. So, The mitochondria of cells, ATP, is synthesized by reduction of molecular oxygen to water through a sequence of coupled proton and electron transferred reactions. During this process, a small percentage of the oxygen is not reduced completely, resulting in the formation of superoxide anion radicals and subsequently other oxygen-containing radicals. So, you take oxygen, okay? You mix it with these nanomaterials that you're consuming on a daily basis, whether it's in your creams, your ointments, your hairsprays, the food you eat, it doesn't matter. It can be transmitted in the air. It can be transmitted through your vaccines. It doesn't matter. You don't know what it is. You don't know how it got there, and it could literally be in your shampoo, okay? It doesn't matter. These nanomaterials and nanometals, I mean, think for a second, your deodorant, okay? Deodorant, antiperspirant deodorant contains aluminum something. It is a molecular metal. It puts itself inside of your sweat glands and blocks your glands from sweating, okay? It doesn't do anything but fill the holes of your sweat glands and stop sweat from coming out. That would be a pretty good example of like a nanomaterial, okay? But if you take, overproduction of ROS can induce oxidative stress, resulting in cell failings to maintain normal physiological redox-regulated functions. The damage in cell function and development includes oxidative modification of proteins, generated protein radicals, initiation of lipid. So all of the things that you've probably been hearing about staying healthy and those free radicals and lipids and ATP and how to lower those in your body, well, the mixture of cell phone radiation on the 5G network, okay, causes oxygen molecules to become ROS, and then that affects the way that your cells react to the environment. It causes your cells to break down. It causes your immune system to be completely deteriorated. So here is the connection, okay? I don't know if it's a weapon. It doesn't need to be a weapon. It doesn't need to be a conspiracy, but it does need to show that what is happening is the fact that the radiation being put out by your cell phone in connection to the 5G network is causing oxygen to heat up, become ROS, and that is affecting the inner cell walls of your mitochondria to produce ATP and lipids and all those things that cause stress to your inner body. That stress allows bacteria and viruses and all this other stuff to get in. You become sick, and there it is from there. So, conspiracy, believe what you want to believe. Connection between the scientific proof that there is a resulting effect from the use of the 5G network in conjunction to the way you conduct your normal life? Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay? Here's a chart that I pulled up about the effects of specific absorption rates, SAR. I don't know where we've heard SARS before, but if we're not calling it a upper respiratory infection, maybe we're calling it specific absorption rate of radiation. SARS 1 and 2, different networks. This is induced specific absorption rates can vary based on a person's surrounding distribution of human head and the antenna. This subject A right here, this is a 4 centimeter from 2 brick walls joined at a corner. So this is a human head 4 centimeters from a brick wall, and then the device or phone is placed on the other, or the antenna is placed on the other side of the wall itself. 4 centimeters from a single wall is B, 3 centimeters on the opposite side of a 12 centimeter thick brick wall, and additional antenna situated on metal cabinets. Okay, so this is an antenna inside the room on metal cabinets in the room right here, and this is the amount of radiation where it's being affected the most, okay? And here we go, and we can see that this is between the 12 centimeter thick brick wall. This is standing at a corner of 2 brick walls, and this is having a metal wall behind you. And these are the different this is the relation of radiation and how it is heating up the cellular areas inside of your brain as you stand there. Okay, so if you want, you can see where standing in front of rooms and the most radiation and how it's affecting your brain. Okay, so it looks like if you're standing in a brick room with a cell phone, you're going to have the most amount of radiation because it seems to be bouncing even over to this side right here. So here is a nanoparticles polluting vaccines video that I found in order to tie into the whole what you've had put in your body scenario. And I'm not going to play this video because there was a bunch of comments about how these people were, you know, found. So I'm not going to play that video, but it is just to add to the story. Nanoparticles in modern science. Nanoparticles are materials with overall dimensions in the nanoscale under 100 nanometers. In recent years, these materials have emerged as important players in modern medicine, okay, with applications ranging from contrast agents in medical imaging to carriers for gene delivery into individual cells. Carriers, so they are so advanced that even in today, okay, this is in 2007. This article was in 2007. Okay, they had the capability of introducing gene delivery via nanoparticles. Okay, all I'm saying is that given the specific amount of time that has passed from these ideas, any person with a ton of money would have the ability to use this science in other ways. Okay. Nanotubes, nanowires, just all kinds of things that are on a scale that you literally would not be able to fathom their size and how they even got inside your body. I mean, it'd be like you could go out into the open, take a deep breath, and whatever you breathed in could have nanoparticles in it. You just don't know. But 2003, this right here is a summary of current nanoparticle technologies in medicine, okay? And the last one on the list from 2003 is the mitigation of inflammatory responses in respiratory tracts, okay? So using nanoparticles, okay, to mitigate inflammation inside the respiratory tract, whether it be used to cause inflammation or whether it be used to take away inflammation is up to the mind of the watcher, the person who's watching this video right now, please. But I'm just bringing to light the way that I've seen this connect. Okay, I'm not, not to go on the whole, fight the powers and David Icke is blown everything into the open, but I needed to put some facts behind it in order to finalize my own decisions on how to react about this. Now, this last video, and this is the last part of this video, and thank you so much for tuning in today and sticking with me till the end. It has been a very long one, and I appreciate you all for listening. I'd love it if you shared this video. I took a long time to do this research and put everything together, and I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen. This is an image that I pulled up. This was a shot in Venezuela after global meditation. So this happened, a ring around the sun, 2 double rainbows around the sun, apparently after a massive group of people around the world at the same time decided to sit down and meditate. Now, I have watched David Icke. I have watched the new Encounters of the Fifth Kind with Dr. Greer. I have watched so many of these people talk about the power of meditation, about the power of your mind and your intent, okay? The power of intent rather than even meditation, and how it can affect you. I've seen David Icke's arthritis, detrimental arthritis, disappear based on his own mental findings, his own mental practices to rid himself of those diseases. And this is just another perfect example, all right, of the ability that we have to take control of our mentality, all right, and be happy about what we have. We need to look inside and tell ourselves that we're one with the cells in our body, Okay, we are able to control the health of those cells. All right, the more down you feel, the more upset you allow yourself to become. That's stress, that is fear, and that fear breaks down those cell walls and allows those free radicals and ATP and everything that it is to affect your body and cause inflammation and cause sickness, okay? So let's get out, let's be happy, let's enjoy our day every day. Take the time to start meditating, okay? Sit down for 10 minutes. Think about breathing, think about being calm, think about the good things that have been in your life, and you will be able to beat this current situation because you will not be affected by the harshness of the things that they are saying and the dangers of the things that they are telling you to be scared of. Take control of your own mind and help other people around you do that as well. All right, that's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. Please like and subscribe. Help me get to 1,000 followers. Help me get to Swell next year. I know this is a new channel, but everybody has been great so far. I've been really enjoying all of the positive comments that I've been receiving. If you see anything on this channel or you haven't heard anything that you want me to dive into, post it in the comments. I read all the comments. I respond to the comments. I love the comments. And that's it. All right, thanks so much, guys. I'll see you in the next video.